Hello, everyone. I hope all of you are fine. So, today we're going to have our second webinar in the Educator's Clinic.
Thank you. Haifa, assalamu alaikum, everyone, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you for joining in for this second webinar of the Educator's Clinic. And as announced, we are going to touch base this time on class management, similarities and differences in class management with the generic people management at large. This is going to be a 30 minutes webinar, and we hope that it would be also a beneficial one, an interactive one. So prepare your devices next to you because we are going to work again with Mentimeter to collect your feedback as we move forward through the agenda of today. Basically, we want to touch base on the importance of self-awareness and situational awareness. Whether you are a teacher standing in the classroom leading the learning of students, or you are a school leader, a principal, a head of school, standing in the school leading the learning of the whole organization and leading the teachers who are facilitating that learning as well, or at large in terms of management and leadership aspects and skills at large. So let's start with the agenda. We're going to warm up with a couple of videos about self-awareness and situational awareness. And then we are going to touch base on the top card, which is an activity that is pretty much famous for a positive discipline approach to get to know yourself and others well. And of course, this is used primarily for members, team members in a workplace, so that you can establish connections and communication according to a personality type, as per se. There are lots of personality assessments out there, and this is one of them that is really valid and reliable for so long. Then we are going to touch base on some comparisons that I have developed myself along the years when it comes to class management versus people management, in a comparison between a classroom teacher, which I call a classroom leader, and a school leader. And then we would come up with a conclusion that hopefully we all agree about, and after a wrap up for this webinar. So that is the first video that we are going to watch as a warm-up. Hopefully the audio works very well, and let's...
So what are 3 techniques or strategies to help someone become more self-aware? In the course of researching my book, Insight, one of the things we did was very exhaustively examine these people that we called unicorns. Now, unicorns are people that did not start out as highly self-aware as adults and made absolutely transformational improvements in their level of self-awareness. And based on the things they taught me, I can suggest 3 things. The first is really a mindset. It's to make the decision that I want to know the truth. That's one of the things in my book that I call braver, but wiser. Number 2 is simply to get more feedback. One of the things we see over and over again in the research on this is that other people can usually see us far more objectively than we see ourselves. The third tool is a little bit counterintuitive. A lot of times when people try to become more self-aware, they ask themselves, why? Why did I do this? Why do I want that? But what my research has found pretty shockingly is that those questions don't result in any more insight. So the tool I recommend is called what, not why. So instead of asking, for example, why did I say something so mean to my husband? You might say, what do I want to do to change our relationship? One person that's a great anecdote of what happens when you improve your self-awareness is an executive I worked with a few years back. Let's call him Steve. And although Steve thought he was pretty amazing, he was doing a terrible job of leading that function. His people were intimidated by him. He would start yelling and screaming at them with the slightest provocation, and he clearly had absolutely no idea how he was coming across. And once we went through that process of getting feedback from his team, understanding the things he needed to work on, things like asking questions, showing empathy, being compassionate, things that he had completely missed in his career to date, Steve was able to completely turn around not just his own performance and not just his team's performance, but the way his function was performing from both a sort of work attitude and a morale standpoint, and also, probably more importantly, bottom line business results.
All right. So, how many Steves of us are out there? I'm sure there are a lot. And honestly, the key word here is perception versus reality. How you perceive yourself to be, how you want yourself to be, and how you come across to others. Because self-awareness, as per se, in itself, is part of people's perception of you. How do you come across in your workplace? How do you come across within your role as a parent, as a husband, as a friend, as a leader, as a team member? Each and every one of us plays a different, multiple roles actually, during just one single day. And accordingly, there are multiple decisions that are taken. And for you to be able to take decisions that make or break your reputation and your presence within your circle, whether that in life, at home, or in workplace, you definitely need to always, as Tasha was mentioning, make the decision that you want to know the truth. You really want to know the truth. You want to know how you are perceived by people, how people think of you, because that's at the end of the day what really matters in terms of your impact and your influence. You can be thinking yourself as Steve, as the best person out there, and knowing what needs to be done. But then how do you come across? Do you come across as Mr. Know Everything or Mrs. Know Everything? Do you come across as someone who really wants people to grow, who really wants their children to grow, who really wants their friends to grow, and as moving forward as well? Sorry. Do you ask for feedback, or do you just wait for feedback to be received? She mentioned this is point number 2 of the strategy, that you need to become more self-aware. Are you asking for feedback from your peers, from your subordinates, from your line managers, from everyone you know? That's how you compete against your own self. That's how you progress. That's how you develop, and that's how you grow based on the feedback to feed forward. And same for learning as well, of course, and same in the classroom. That's why we always, as teachers, are required and encouraged to provide feedback for the learners. So it's life, people management, and classroom management. And the question why and not what, in terms of why am I doing this? Is it purposefully uh, um, uh, driven, or is it for any other reason? So hopefully that would touch base a little bit about the importance of self-awareness and how it is related to how you are perceived by others. It is totally different, of course, than self-motivation or self-confidence. These are different terms. The third video for warm-up, sorry, the second video for warm-up would be a very interesting one. So I really encourage you all to be very, very focused, because there is a trick in this video. So hopefully you're not going to get tricked in that video, and then we're going to watch and feedback afterwards.
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball. The correct answer is 16 passes. Did you spot the gorilla? For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And that's the monkey business illusion. Learn more about this illusion and the original gorilla experiment at theinvisiblegorilla.com.
So, how many of us out there are consequently and continuously looking for the gorilla? They might find it, they might not, but while they are, they might lose lots of other stuff that are as important or maybe even more important than the gorilla. So basically, the monkey business illusion shows how easy it is to miss something or not see something if you're not looking for it, if you don't have to look for it, or if it doesn't affect you. So basically, that's intentional awareness. And if you combine self-awareness with situational awareness, intentional situational awareness, that's basically emotional intelligence. You are intelligent enough to spot your emotions and others while you are in a situation, whether that be at home or at work. And that's what is called the EQ, the emotional quotient. Okay, so now it's time for a little bit of an interactive bit. So please go to menti.com and use the code 8513204, or just scan the QR code with your device at hand. You will find these 3 questions, and let's just go now to the Mentimeter. And on a scale from 1, which is the lowest, to 5, which is the highest, answer these questions. First one is, do you think you see yourself as you really are, as who you really are? The second question, do you think you see others as they really are? So awareness of others, awareness of self, awareness of others. And the third question, do you think a good teacher needs to be a good leader? And that's what will move us to the next part of this webinar today. So we've got 1 on 2, 1 on 4, and 1 on 5. So the same participants. We need more participants to join in. Come on, let's give it 1 more minute. Have your devices handy. So far, do you think you see yourself as you really are? Give it 1 out of 5. You see others as they really are. That's more progressive. That's 4 out of 5. And do you think good teachers need to be good leaders? Totally agree. Excellent. Brilliant. So, okay, we have another participant just joined. And this was pulled. A third participant just joined. Excellent. And the fourth, brilliant. Maybe we can give it 1 more minute just for everyone to be. So far, it's kind of midway. Self-awareness. Awareness of others is still on the maybe 3.3 out of 5, basically the 4 answers so far. And still maxed, do you think the good teachers need to be good leaders? Everyone agrees. Excellent. Well, basically, We will revisit these 3 questions again by the end of the session and see if our answers have changed. So let me just get a screenshot of our answers now, and let's move on. Brilliant. Thank you so much. So the second part on the agenda is the top card, know yourself and others. So basically, on the same Mentimeter, you will have some questions. And of course, this is an extensive training session that or activity that really encourages people to get to know themselves according to the top card of Lynn Lott, top card activity. So we will go to the Mentimeter again and answer to these 4 questions. Choose one situation and only one that you would like to avoid the most. Of course, all of us would love to avoid stress and pain. Who wouldn't? No one would like to be criticized and ridiculed in a harsh manner. No one would love to be rejected and treated with hassles. And of course, no one would also like to feel meaningless or useless or unimportant. But what is the most one that you would really mostly want to avoid in your life situations, whether that at home or at work? Number one, that you cannot live with. So we have 2 participants and now 3 participants. 2 of them spotted meaningless and unimportance, and 1 spotted stress and pain. All right. So let's see what does that mean. And the 4th just joined and also agreed with meaningless and unimportance. So we have 75% on meaningless and unimportance, 25% on stress and pain. Excellent. So basically, if we go here to these 4 dimensions or these 4 situations that you avoid the most: stress and pain, criticism and ridicule, rejection and hassles, and meaningless and unimportance. On that website, you will find the 4 domains. What does it mean exactly? If your personality is avoiding stress and pain, then you are a comfort person. You would like to be in avoidance, and the animal that represents you is the turtle. If you avoid the most criticism and ridicule, then your personality style is a control person. You like to control your situation, not necessarily control others. So you're like the eagle. If your personality avoids mostly rejection and hassle, then your personality style is a pleasing person. You gain your comfort by pleasing others. So the animal that represents you is the chameleon. And if your personality avoids the most meaningless, the sense of meaningless and unimportance, then your personality style is superiority. You'd like to be in charge. You're like the lion, the king of the jungle. And of course, you can go through, we will share on an email for all participants, you can go through what exactly is your behavior under stress. When you are not stressed, how people, how have you have many assets and gifts, such as, and some of the problems that you might invite being who you are in your character and personality, what you need to work on, and what you long for. So accordingly, these are more insights for you to get to know yourself better. And of course, if you do this in your workplace, you get to know your team members better. And if you do this in your classroom, you get to know your learners better. And of course, this enhances means of communication, and it enhances as well getting to know other people surrounding you. So that's called the top card activity, and that's the link for it for your further reference. Now, we have now the comparison between the classroom management, which is basically the title of the webinar for today, and the people management. So basically, out of observations, I have come up with these insights, and of course, you might disagree or differ. So the column on the left is basically what the leaders of students need to do or need to have as skills, and what the leaders of teachers, who are the school leaders, need to also do or have as skills, and how are they similar or different. So basically, primarily, a teacher has to know well their students. You have to know them and you have to reach them before you teach them. What are the needs and wants, learning difficulties, or are they higher achievers, to be able to teach them right. Same thing for the school leader. They have to know well their teachers, the needs and wants and skills, even outside of the workplace, so that they are able to lead them right. Because leadership is different than management in terms of bringing people to a shared vision rather than just letting people do what the school or what the management needs them to do. The second, teachers have to understand students' group work dynamics. So if you are going to put students in groups, you need to understand who works well with who and who doesn't. So accordingly, you can build on that momentum and sometimes create homogeneous groups, sometimes heterogeneous groups. The same for school leaders or leaders at large. You have to understand your teachers' teamwork dynamics best so that people can produce and can create their high and can reach their highest potential as you want students to reach their highest potential. Third, teachers have to prepare lessons, objectives, and share it with the students so that the learning is intentional. School leaders or leaders at large have to prepare school objectives. What is our vision? What is our school development plan for the next 3 to 5 years? And also share it with teachers so that we create incentive. We create a shared vision and also shared goals and objectives for improvement. The fourth, teachers have to prepare lesson plans aligned with the curriculum objectives and share them with the parents. So for school leaders, they have to prepare class observation forms aligned to the school objectives that we shared with the teachers and share them with the teachers. Because guess what? We don't want to, as school leaders, enter the classroom and pick on teachers and surprise them, tricked you, got you. So this is not the attitude to be able to create a positive workplace. We can create a class observation sheet so that teachers understand the expectations when the school principal is having a learning walk or something with that likes. Same for the lesson plans for the students. So teachers also have to be mindful of students' family time when assigning homework. You have to be balanced. So you have to make sure that home is home and play is important for students. Same respectful mindfulness from school leaders. Teachers' family time also is important. Teachers have to support underachieving students and empower their talented ones, even if it's going to require more time and more support from teachers themselves. The same goes for school leaders. They have to coach struggling teachers and empower the talented ones. Not necessarily by themselves if they're not able or they don't have the coaching skills, but by, for example, having some instructional coaches within their school team. Teachers have to create connections before correction with the students so that their correction really matters. Same goes for school leaders. They have to create connection before correction with the teachers so that their message really goes through and is well attended to. Teachers have to consider the balance between Maslow hierarchy of needs and Bloom's taxonomy in the classroom, so social, emotional, and cognitive abilities, and provide counseling sessions to students in need, not by themselves, but by referral to the counseling department. School leaders do the same thing for their schools. They have to consider the balance between Maslow and Bloom in the school building, in the learning organization, and provide counseling sessions to teachers in need when that is wanted as well. Well, guess what? Teachers are still people. They're human beings, same like students, and they also have needs. Teachers have to help students reach their SMART goals for their academic year: specific, measurable, attainable, reasonable, and time-bound. And hopefully that SMART goal for students is done by themselves, for themselves, so that personalized learning. Same goes for school leaders. To what extent are we aligning the school objectives and aligning the teacher's SMART goals to the overall direction of the school, where the curriculum development work is going, where the co-curricular activities are going, and where each and every teacher can use their skills to benefit the school community, and the school community can benefit the teacher as well in a mutual win-win situation. Teachers have to delegate some students for some classroom jobs every now and then so that everyone feels heard and visible and impactful and influential. Same for school leaders. They have to delegate some teachers for some school-wide tasks every now and then. So also all teachers feel heard and voice and choice and agency. Teachers have to celebrate success and appreciate efforts of the students after each unit, recognition. Same goes for leaders, school leaders. They have to celebrate success and appreciate efforts of teachers after each semester, after each term, after each school year. Teachers have to be open to learn from their students sometimes. Yes, this always happens, especially in this digital era that we are living in. School leaders have to be open to learn from their teachers sometimes, and honestly, most of the times. It doesn't mean that you are a school leader, that you are the best teacher in the school. Definitely not. So we always learn from each other. Teachers have to reflect clearly and transparently with students on their progression track record, which is progress report, in their performance report cards. Same goes for school leaders. They have to reflect clearly and transparently with teachers on their progression track record in the performance appraisal reports. So it's not just a document, a PDF file that is sent via HR. Same for the student's report card. It's not just a report card that is sent to the family and not conversated and discussed thoroughly with the teacher. This creates meaning to the feedback, because a report card is a feedback tool and an appraisal report is a feedback tool for growth and enhancement in performance. Teachers have to make sure all students are happy to come to their class every morning, every day, every single lesson matters, eager to learn and leave well. Same for school leaders. How you have to make sure that all your teachers, as much as possible, are happy coming to school because of the workplace. Of course, there might be other personal reasons that would impede that to happen. Eager to teach and leave well. And by leave well, not only leave the school or leave the school day well, but also when they decide to leave the school, they leave the school well because the school has treated them well. Teachers have to make sure students have some planned learning outside the classroom setting so that you can balance indoor learning with outdoor learning. School leaders have to make sure teachers have some planned gatherings outside the school settings so that you can balance school with well-being, building the team spirit. A real team is not just people working together, it's people trusting each other, feeling comfortable to work with each other. Teachers have to listen to all their students' opinions, even the misbehaving ones, because guess what? They are still students in my classroom. People are different. School leaders have to listen to all their teachers' opinions, even the loudly outspoken ones that can be perceived as always contradicting, always complaining. Their opinion also matters. The list is much longer, but of course, this is basically some insights to highlight some maybe similarities in terms of the attitudes of classroom leader, which is the teacher, and a school leader or management at large. And of course, school managers, in terms of heads of schools or school principals, they also have middle management. That's senior management and that's middle management. So for senior management, you don't only have to make sure your teachers are this, and that, but you also want to make sure that you empower your middle management level so that they are actually very much aware of the vision at the senior level, and they are very much aware of the operations at the teachers level as well. Because at the end of the day, teachers are in schools settings, they are the ones who are actually connecting and contacting with the learners. They are the ones who are making learning happen in the classroom. This people management survey in 2018 has highlighted strong work ethics as the number one with 82% of the most common trait for great managers. So there are 20 traits for great managers. Number one with 82% was strong work ethics. Number two was honest, and then sense of humor, confident, positive attitude, and so on and so forth. So when it comes to strong work ethics, being ethical as educators, that's integrity. And of course, people who are self-respecting, self-aware, back to self-awareness, and also have awareness of their situations and awareness of others will eventually have great and strong work ethics and act with integrity. Now, we want to have an answer to this question with just one word. Describe educational leadership from your perspective. Of course, I presume that all our audience and attendees during this webinar are educators. And if not even educators, maybe from your perspective, if you're outside of that field, describe what educational leadership is from your perspective in just one word. So here is Mentimeter. Use the code or use the QR code, so the numerical code. Caring, sacrifice. By sacrifice, interesting. Maybe from, I just, want to elaborate on that. Maybe from the servant leadership perspective, like you lead by serving others. Maybe this is what you mean by sacrifice. Inspiring, listening, 100%. I mean, people always, and especially in business departments, they speak about KPIs, key performance indicators, and how to list some indicators that you can actually measure, so that by the end of the day, you can't manage what you can't measure, and you need to make sure that the performance of the team are, top notch. But actually, nowadays, people look at KPIs as keep people inspired. If you really want to increase performance of your team, keep them inspired, keep them informed. And yeah, I can't agree more. And listening, of course. I mean, there is a famous saying that says when a leader does not listen to people surrounding them, they will be surrounded by people who do not talk eventually. And this kind of creating a psychological safety in the workplace for people to disagree with you as a leader without, fearing of any pushback or any reaction that might harm them, whether personally or professionally, creates this caring environment of empathetic listening. 100%. Brilliant. Thanks for sharing that. And now to wrap up, basically in the next 5 minutes, I know we've maybe passed the 30 minutes by 4 minutes now. We're going to come back to the question that we asked first. And of course, it's a very quick, check of the webinar, but let's see if our answers changed so far. So the 3 questions again that we started the webinar with were, do you think you see yourself as who you really are, self-awareness? Do you think you see others as they really are, situational awareness? And do you think a good teacher needs to be a good leader? So basically, when we compared between, in these three past slides, between a good teacher and a good leader, what do we want to say here? We want to say that eventually you are actually doing all the leadership skills inside your classroom. You don't necessarily have to have a title to be a leader. Maybe you do to be a manager, to be able to have the authority and manage people, but leadership is totally a different thing. And of course, there is a lot of literature in the comparison between leadership and management. All right, so comparing answers now to answers back then, in the beginning of the webinar, the first question, but I think it's not accurate because we still have one participant missing. Oh yeah, now the participant is back. So we are all four. Do you think you see yourself as who you really are? We had 2.8 out of 5. Now we have 3.5 out of 5. Okay, that's a progress. Do you think you see others as who they really are? We had 3.3 and now we have 2.8 out of 5. So that's also even better because the more conservative you are judging others, the more you are curious and not judgmental. The more you are, you have a pause in terms of your stimulus and your reaction towards a judgment of others from their first word or from their first action. And that's really important, 100%. I can see now it moved to 3.6, the first question, even better. And the third question is still at 5. Excellent. That is basically the purpose of this webinar, is to make sure that we understand the alignment between classroom management and people management. Now, a bit from the 7 habits of highly effective people, and maybe we can delve into these habits in another webinar. The see-do-get cycle is the paradigm shift. So basically, what you see or how you see the world affects what you do in your situation, and that's your behavior. And what you do in this situation affects what you get as a result of your behavior. So the see-do-get cycle is the mental creation that precedes the physical creation. And this is how you shift your paradigm. You shift how you think about the world by shifting how you see the world. And of course, you see the world according to a result that had happened, an action that has happened. So it is a cycle. It's not linear. It's a cyclic approach. And it is really important to focus on how you see others. That's awareness. Awareness is how you see and how you understand yourself and how you see and understand others, whether as a classroom teachers and self and others are the learners, or you are a school leader, or you are actually a leader or a manager at large, and you are focusing on yourself and others within the workplace. Now, a bit about Pygmalion effect versus Golem effect. These are two psychological phenomena. The Pygmalion effect is basically where you have high expectations of the person in front of you or in your circle, or that you are communicating with, to the extent that this high expectation influence them positively. So our assumptions are really, really important to be checked continuously. That is how we see others. That is the perception. Again, we mentioned perception versus reality. Now, the golem effect is exactly the same, but instead of high expectations of others, low expectations of others. So if you have low expectations of others, this will lead to low performance of these people when and if they know of these low expectations. That is why it is extremely important, if you are in charge of people, whether as a parent, as a coach, as a manager, as a leader, you need to make sure that you have high expectations of these people, because this does affect performance. And that's just a psychological phenomenon. The vision we offer our children shape the future. It matters what those visions are. Often they become self-fulfilling prophecies. Dreams are maps for our children. And here, that's from the teacher's perspective by Carl Sagan. If you just change children and you put instead, you replace it by team members, the vision we offer our team members shape their future because you are with them for continuous time interval. So every thing that you say and every action that you do will affect who they are as well, whether the Pygmalion effect or the Golem effect. So in education career, you start as a leader and end as a leader. Even if you choose not to opt for any management or administrative role. Principals lead teachers, teachers lead learners. Self-awareness, social awareness, situational awareness, that is the emotional quotient, emotional intelligence, can be a great stepping stone towards mindfully leading students and teachers in a collaborative school culture that is aligned inside the classroom and outside the classroom towards a shared vision and mission. Thank you so much for joining in, and I'm aware we have passed the 30 minutes line with 11 minutes. Thank you for joining in for this webinar. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them, Haifa, if there are questions in Q&A. If not, then we are happy to conclude this webinar for today. So we have, if I may ask, yes, please, Mayan, go ahead. Thank you, Maher. I can see your question, if you may. Yes, you may ask. Are you still with us, Mayan?
Yes, Hatem, she asked a question. She
Okay.
said, how can we balance the Pygmalion versus the Golan effect?
Oh, wow. That's a very good question. I honestly do not believe I am well qualified to answer it, though. Um, I I did have a multiple as clinical psychologist that I worked with back in the days when I used to work as an inclusion coordinator. But we do not honestly, I mean, just generically speaking, not from the, psychological perspective, we do not need to balance both effects because as much as possible, we need to have high expectations of the people we care about. And that's very specific. Of course, people we care about are surrounding us. And whether these people are our students, learners in the classroom, or our team members. If we work in a workplace that we don't care about these people, then we're better off outside of this workplace. If we are teaching students that we do not care about them, then we are better off outside of this job at large, because it is a job of caring primarily and foremost, because you are a caregiver at the end of the day. So basically, if you are surrounded by people you care about, you need always to have high hopes, and that is the Pygmalion effect. Hopefully, these high hopes will impact their performance positively. And otherwise, if it's the other, side of the coin or the other story, then you will have low expectations of everyone surrounding you, and that will negatively impact their performance, and life will not be good. So I think it is situational awareness as well, and self-awareness. You have to be very well aware of your surroundings, aware of that you are in the right place to begin with, that you are in the right position, that you are in the right job, and all of that will affect, of course, Pygmalion effect, and hopefully will lead to positive impact on the people's performance at large. I'm not sure, Mayan, if I answered your question, but again, I reiterate that I might not be qualified enough to answer this question, but thank you for asking. Any other questions before we wrap up? Excellent. Brilliant. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. And
Hatem,
yes,
I can see someone named Turki Malki has raised his hand.
all right. So can you, do you want to give the mic or?
Okay, I'll allow him to talk.
Sure, please.
Hello, Turki.
Hello,
أهلا وسهلا.
how are you doing? Yeah, it's me. I'm not going just to ask you a question, by the way. I'm going just to say thank you for what you are giving us. This is a really appreciated information about your webinar today. So I would like just to be thankful and grateful for you. You are really presented this information as well as possible. Thank you indeed.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much for joining in. And again, we are always better together as educators. And thank you so much for your words. And hopefully we learn from each other. Excellent. So without further ado, I would like to conclude this meeting if we don't have any other. There is a comment here that I would like to share from Maher Qambaz. This is why I see leadership is a kind of sacrifice. High expectations usually lead to disappointment. Leaders keep their expectations high in spite of the disappointment for the better of the people they are teaching/leading. Wow, that is very deep. That is a very deep reflection. Thank you so much, Maher, for sharing this with us. Yes, I do agree. Lots of times, and I have been advised multiple times as well by my some of my previous senior managers, is not to have high expectations of others, just to have high hopes so that you avoid frustrations. Because the high expectations that you have that are not reflected by reality on the ground, this leads to frustration. So to avoid frustration as a leader, you better have some hopes, but lower your expectations. But of course, yes, we see how Pygmalion affect others' performance according to the expectations that we can communicate. Because at the end of the day, if you have high expectations of the people surrounding you, but you do not communicate that, then how does that affect them positively? So the key aspect here is communicating these high expectations to the people surrounding you, whether people you are leading or people you are teaching inside the classroom. And accordingly, this will affect them positively as the Pygmalion psychological phenomena relates. Excellent. Thanks again, everyone. And I think that's a wrap. And see you in the next webinar. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you everyone for joining. I hope you enjoyed the webinar and looking forward to see you in our upcoming webinars and workshops. Thank you so much.